It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Flying down from Nova Scotia today.
This nation was founded by men of many nations and backgrounds.
I have a dream that all men are created equal.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Doom Nation, what's up? We are back again. It is the Two Doom Men podcast, and as always, it's Skaggs and the Captain. And what do we got on the docket today? Big day, huh?
Big day. We have been kind of holding off talking about this, really. We talked a little bit about Kyle Rittenhouse in episode 100, but we had been waiting for, the verdict to come down. And then we figured we'd do a deep dive into it. So it is, today is the day that the verdict came down. It is Friday night. I am putting aside my Halo Infinite time just to do this for Doom Nation. I've been really looking forward to that. I had some free time tonight. So, the work goes on. You always make me laugh, by the way, when we start and you do the countdown, then you flip me off at the end.
Yep. I want, since it's Friday, got a nice Heineken Tall Boy. Well, we're going to crack this one open for everyone who's going to fuck around and find out tonight. As Skaggs runs over to his little mini bar to get a beer, I'm sure.
I got a Miller Lite.
Miller Willer.
So, yeah, man. Kyle Rittenhouse is found not guilty on all charges, and it is a win for justice. And the podcast, like we've said before, is normally me and you complaining about shit that sucks and, like bad stuff and whatnot. This is a win. So a win should be celebrated for self-defense. Obviously, for the guy himself, Kyle Rittenhouse, he's just a 17-year-old kid, was facing pretty much life behind bars, being prosecuted by the state. And we'll get into all the details.
Yeah, I almost wanted to do the podcast with like my rifle strapped to my back.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give any ammunition to these leftists, no pun intended.
Left-wing nut jobs.
So I wanted to kind of start here. Let's go back, right? Because we haven't spoken about this in a while. Like, what exactly happened back then to even cause Kyle to go to this thing and what was going on? And you watched that podcast the other day with Joe Rogan, Tim Pool, and everybody. And that was really interesting, right? Because they kind of spoke a little bit about the very beginning, what was going on. And, it was Jacob Blake, I believe his name was. And he was in a domestic disturbance, like domestic violence.
He originally had gotten arrested, I think, for gun charges. And then they were searching for him. And like he was under the influence of armed and dangerous. They were under the influence that he was armed and dangerous, I believe. And that was the one where the female cop killed him, right? Where like she just
no. That was the young kid, I think, with the taser. Jacob Blake, I believe, had a knife, and that's why the cop shot him. According to the video, I could be wrong. I don't remember exactly. There's been so many of these like public cases. So, these cops shooting people like this. Hard to even remember all of them. But long story short, that caused riots to go down in Kenosha where this occurred. It was Black Lives Matter going out there to protest. And as we've seen countless times, before, their protest ends up turning into violent, riots, people burning down buildings and, just complete chaos. So
just to set the precedent, like if you show up to protest and you're marching through the streets with your signs and chanting and playing music, having speakers come up and talk about what the issues are, that's a peaceful protest. Once any businesses are being destroyed, cars being flipped, any type of fires, any type of, projectiles flying through the air, beatings, muggings, this is no longer peaceful. It is a full-blown riot, and the media has done a sensational job lying to everyone.
Yeah, of course, And look, man, you know, we've said it a million times. We both agree with the sentiment behind Black Lives Matter. We just never agreed with the organization of the riots. And at this point, I'm not giving them any more cover. Your organization has been part of numerous violent riots over the fucking course of, you know, the past couple of years. So your organization serves no purpose, no benefit anymore to advancing the cause of Black Lives Matter. It's been tainted, just like, in my opinion, how Trump has also kind of been tainted in terms of like winning back freedoms and whatnot. If he runs for president again, it's going to drive everybody crazy and we're never going to make any progress. It's going to be just orange man bad shit. So I'm looking at it in a similar way. But when this whole thing went down, the police, let's go back to the podcast first of all, right? Because Joe Rogan in that podcast had said, you know, it was complete anarchy, that what was going on. And Luke Rudkowski, I don't know if you know who Luke Rudkowski is. He was the guy sitting next to Joe Rogan.
I listened to it. I didn't watch it.
He made the point. He's like, that wasn't anarchy. That was state-sponsored and allowed violence, right?
Yeah.
And if you think back to this protest, the police were told to stand down. The governor of Wisconsin did not call in the National Guard, and violence erupted, and no one did anything about it. And this was violence erupted on day one. It wasn't like it wasn't like a couple of days of peaceful protest started. No. Shit got fiery, not peaceful, immediately.
I think there's so many riots to go back to. I think like either the first night of that was, you good or?
Yeah, I have something's making some weird noise here.
Well, what I was saying, hopefully you guys can still hear me, was I believe like immediately during one of those riots in Kenosha, either they looted and burnt down a Target, or they burnt the Wendy's down to the ground.
They were firebombing random businesses in town. Kyle Rittenhouse, look, say what you want. If I was his father, I would not have allowed him to go to a riot.
Yeah,
Kyle Rittenhouse only lived a few miles away. His family worked in Kenosha. He went there to like basically provide security and try and help. For whatever reason, the kid thought he was going to be a firefighter, a cop. He actually did have some training in like local police, like youth.
I think volunteer firefighter shit.
Yeah, volunteer firefighter, you know, like youth police stuff. He thought he was going to go there and help people and defend businesses and whatnot. And he got caught up in the mess of what was going down. He did not obviously cross state lines with an assault rifle, which doesn't even exist. There's no such thing as an assault rifle.
A lie told by the media.
Yeah. And he got caught up, you know. This trial, though, the point I want to stress here, and the point I want to make tonight here, obviously, which I'm sure you're going to make the larger point here, is that this was an assault on your right to self-defense by the state. And it was the state who allowed this situation to occur because they pulled out. They never deployed the National Guard. They basically told the police to stand down. So if you are a private property owner, a business owner, you pay taxes, you've engaged in a social contract with the state to protect your property. How does that happen? With the police, with the National Guard. They violated that contract. So it's up to you in order to defend your private property. That is the fucking right of every single American person. Doesn't matter what you look like, what ethnicity you are, anything. If you are a person standing within the physical boundaries of the United States of America, you have a right to private property and to the defense of your private property. I don't give a flying fuck what Chris Murphy or Joe Biden, whoever has to say. That is your right as a human being. Forget about even being an American. So people had to take it into their own hands, as they have had to do multiple times over the course of riots and whatnot.
What about that other couple who, when they broke down the gates into the private, the gated community, and they showed up, and he pulled his AR out on the front lawn, and they went nuts over that guy.
Right. Ken. Ken and Karen.
Ken.
I forget his last name.
Ken and Karen. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, with him, we criticize him for, poor gun etiquette by pointing it at people. Kyle Rittenhouse was on his game. He didn't point a gun at anybody until they were literally physically assaulting him, attacking him. This is all on video. Everything. It's shocking how accurately and how like detailed everything was on video. Like almost every moment in question in Rittenhouse's case was on video. So it was interesting because for once you have a trumped up bullshit narrative that was created by the media. And if you didn't see this stuff, you would have, most people would have believed what the media told you. The fact that we could have cameras in there was great.
Drone footage. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying cameras in the actual drone, of course, the cameras
Yeah.
on the situation. I'm talking about cameras in the courthouse
Oh, okay.
also, because this was a state trial. So if we didn't, if we weren't able to watch it, and I did watch a lot of it, and so did, people that I follow, and, I watched the clips and whatnot, we would not know the truth behind most of this stuff. It'd be just deciphered by the media who is, allowed firsthand access in there. So for people out there who are still saying this kid is guilty, this kid is a white nationalist, this is bullshit, he crossed state lines, like our friend Mayor de Blasio just tweeted before, you could have watched the court case and you could have found out the real situation. You could have found out the real details, but you chose to make yourself ignorant of it, but then give an opinion on something you know nothing about. You know that famous quote, you can't wake people up who choose to be asleep?
Yeah.
This is that exact situation going on. And I've tried myself as an individual, like to talk to a few people that I know that are like on the left who posted stuff on Instagram about Kyle Rittenhouse. And I challenged them because I'm like, look, no one, they're siloed. No one's going to get through them. So I'm like, I'm going to go out of my way and try and like change 3 or 4 minds here and use it as kind of like a red pill moment for some people. Did I get through to them? I don't know, but go ahead. I've been ranting for a minute. Sorry.
No. Yeah. Today was a hell of a day. The second that not guilty verdict came out, I might as well walked out of the office.
Yeah, I got not much done, and I was very nervous. It's funny, real quick, personal story. When I was watching it live, and somebody in the office was talking to me, and I had one earbud in one ear, and talking to this person in the other ear, and like they were starting to read the verdicts, and I was like speaking to that person, but I had no interest in whatever it was they had to say.
It was funny because you sent the link and I started watching it and I was eating lunch and I was, oh my God, they really played it up with, when they're coming out, when they're, so I was tuning in and out and you're like, this is pretty nerve wracking. And I'm watching it and it just got more and more intense. And then the judge was like, all right, rise, bring me over the papers. And like, I wasn't worried
being Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, well, yeah, he fainted. He almost, he hit the ground.
Yeah.
But when they started saying not guilty, I was pretty excited. And, the one nice thing that I've noticed so far, is I still, we're going to be talking about winning a lot. And I feel like we're winning the culture war because as we've done this podcast, we're 100 episodes in, we do the reviews, the social media is its own undertaking in its own. I've learned a lot off of social media, and I started, to realize that on my personal Instagram account, my stories, the stories that I see, the news feed is very just things that I like and people that I like. It's not that political. Obviously, our podcast, news feed is a completely different story. That's, we're not following food and, muscle car pages. We're following congressmen and women. And, it was very quiet on my Instagram, on my Facebook, very quiet. Once again, it's really not too political. All this stuff, I saw one person on Instagram who, made the race thing. It was a picture of Kyle Rittenhouse walking away as 2 cops arrest a black person. You're wrong, man.
An invented scenario that does not exist.
Yes.
Right? Yes.
First off, it's an invented scenario. And you're saying he got off because he was white. There was no people
because it was the truth.
Yeah, there's no people of color involved in this scenario. Yes, this was a BLM protest, but everybody who got shot or harmed or was involved was all white people.
One of which was a pedophile convicted.
Oh, they were all four of the victims, and they're not victims. All 4 of the assailants
of the aggressors.
Yeah, of the aggressors were. They had huge rap sheets. They were all felons. And then somebody on Facebook, oh, what a sad day, feeling disappointed. Where's the justice? And I know who it is, and I'm not going to say the name, obviously, but I personally know this person. Couldn't be one of the most uninformed people, just didn't watch a single minute of the court case, doesn't know who the aggressors or the people who were shot, doesn't know what the prosecutor pulled 5 different times doesn't know about the jury being intimidated. So you're
doesn't know about the prosecution's witnesses basically admitting
yes,
that what they
yeah,
did was where they were the aggressors, and Kyle never pointed a gun
yeah,
at them or fired
yep,
upon them until they were assaulting him or pointing a gun at him.
yeah,
I mean,
illegally. Yep.
that's where in my opinion, I'm sorry to cut you off here, but the case should have never even been brought to trial.
No.
It was the clearest evidence, like the clearest case of self-defense. But my God, when Gage Kreutz, whatever the fuck his stupid name is, when he testified that Rittenhouse never pointed the gun at him until he pointed his own Glock at him, the fucking case was done.
Closed.
That's it. That's when it was over.
Yep.
That was the prosecution's witness, and the prosecutor face palmed after because he knew that's where the case went south. So sorry, but
and on top of it, YouTube censorship. When YouTube banned all the independent streaming services from covering it, they they only covered the prosecution. They never covered the defense and shit like that. Everybody knows who the prosecutor is. Can anybody tell me who the defense attorney was? You know what I mean?
Right. Although like Binger, his name is right. He was such a shit show, the prosecutor Binger, that he made himself famous. He made himself into a walking fucking meme factory, which I participate in some of that. But good.
And then the second he pointed a gun at the crowd with his finger on the trigger, it was just, you're the one that should be behind bars, bro. It's just, but I think we're winning this culture war because I follow a lot of people over three different. I'm not on Twitter. My Twitter account is the podcast page. So over all these personal pages, it was overwhelming of good. I'm glad he's not guilty. Only a small fraction of a percentage. And that's the way people feel, man. This is culture. We keep talking. This is culture. We are in a cultural warfare right now.
Yeah.
And this is the tides that are turning.
Yep. Because
I saw way more people happy that it was a not guilty verdict. And I've been hearing from way more people that are upset that Kenosha is going to have to burn tonight because the peaceful left didn't get the news they wanted. It blows my mind that people are so hypocritical that they are willing to cross state lines to shoot someone because the kid who crossed state lines and shot someone is found innocent. You know, the right,
they're willing to break every principle they stood on in this case in order to get some sort of vigilante justice in their own mind. Right.
People are ready to become vigilantes to kill the vigilante if he's found. It is a snake eating its tail and there isn't much left to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yes,
it's so stupid. People are willing to commit every single crime that they were trying to hang on this kid because he's found innocent. It makes no sense, man.
It's the iron law of woke
of woke projection.
Yeah, and dude, I've been telling you for the past few weeks, we're gonna win the culture war because
I believe it
doesn't make sense, and that's why you got to be the happy warrior, as a Michael Malice says,
I really
can be sometimes.
I really believe it. It's all starting to unfold. If we start going back over our podcast, one maybe from like 100 down, we'll see how it's unfolded because. I mean, Fauci, his credibility's gone. Even though people might not believe that his credibility's gone, you tell them about the dogs, they're going to hate Fauci. The issues with the vaccine, YouTube, I'm not saying the vaccine's ineffective, but the CDC and studies from around the world have found some interesting information of people who are fully vaccinated are ending up in the hospitals more and contracting COVID more. And all these things that's unfolding. Critical race theories falling apart. The domestic terrorist with the Department of Justice, that's falling apart. He was caught. The head of the DOJ was caught red-handed lying about, we're not going after parents. And here's a whole form about we're using the FBI for counterterrorism to go after parents. Parents are getting ready to homeschool kids.
Yeah.
And it's funny. And I know you hate it, but it's a good analogy. Q always said it was like, it's going to start with a drip and then it's going to be 2 drips, and then it's going to be a stream, and then it's going to be a flood. And here it is. The corners are unfolding, man. You know, the whole bowing down to the woke mob just took one on the chin.
Yeah. You ever seen the meme where it's like the guy with the whip and he's whipping all the people in front of him and they're all like bowing down and cowing. And then like one person stands up and the guy goes to whip him. Then like 5 people stand up and then 10 people stand, you know, like then the whole crowd is standing up. And
then he's bowing down.
The guy with the whip is bowing down, right? Like, yes, that has begun to occur. And today, mark this down in fucking history. Today was the moment you're going to point back to and be like, that's when the tide officially turned.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're going to go on the offensive here in the culture war and start clawing back fucking freedom and liberty and, you know, shutting up these fucking authoritarian lunatics that are out on the street. Go ahead.
My biggest argument is, you know, people always, especially this new woke culture, they're always the victim. They're the victim. They're the victim. There's always a way to claim who's being victimized, you know, systematic racism. And the one thing I've realized, and I thought of this on the way home from work today, is none of these people have ever truly been victims.
No, they're all.
You ever got your ass beat? You ever got your ass beat real bad?
Yeah.
Before, this is way back, before I even knew you, me and my buddy that I won't name, save everybody the story, long story short, it resulted in 2 minivans full of kids jumping out, 15 on 2. I had stitches. They broke his nose with a stickball bat. They effed us up. We looked at people who wanted to do nothing but harm. If people from the restaurants around didn't come running outside to break it up, if another car with, you know, a concerned person didn't break it up and we didn't run away, who knows what the result would have been. If we didn't run towards the movie theater like we did, if we ran down the alleyway and they chased us, maybe I'll be in a wheelchair right now. Maybe I'd be blind right now. You know what I mean? That's being a victim. I was defenseless. There was nothing I could do. We were overpowered. That's how you turn someone into a victim. But from that point on, I've never lost another fight. I can promise you that. I've never not had some type of security on me, you know. So I was explaining to someone, like, and she was like, people just, you know, they don't understand self-defense. And I go, it's not that, it's they're cowards. They were never victims. They never had to suffer through what I had to suffer through. They never had, trust me, you could give anyone a gun, and if you get 10 people to chase them down with baseball bats, they're going to use that gun 100% of the time, even if they don't know how to use it. You know what I mean? And, you know, cowards lay down and die. And that's what the woke mob and that's what the left wants you to do. Lay down and die. If you do not have our ideologies, if you are not part of our tribe, lay down and die. Because if you fight back, we will come at you with everything. This really, you know, and I will never agree to lay down and die. You know, I've seen what it's like on the other side where, you know, people tried to lay you down and kill you. I'm not going down without a fight. These people who fight against, and you could even explain to them
real quick. It's funny because knowing you for a very long time, you're one of the nicest, most peaceful people I've ever met in my life. You know, you're not one of like those dudes that goes to a bar and is like looking to get drunk and start a fight or anything like that. No, me and you are the same way like that. We're both just looking for a good time.
Yeah. All the fights I've ever been in my adult life is because some shit popped off and a friend of mine got in the middle of it, and I'm not going to let them go down. So, you know, so I'm going to get involved. So where was I going with that now? You know, to lay they're cowards. Weak people lay down and die. And that's what the mob wants. And it's ludicrous to me. And even for the people, when you explain self-defense and they're like, no, self-defense, you're a coward. You're a coward. I don't even know. I'm so like.
Let me interject here. You know what's interesting about what you're saying here. What's occurred in society and what's happened on the left is they've spun the narrative of words are violence.
Yeah.
if you say something mean, you're causing literal violence against people, and you need to be silenced, quieted, removed from public discourse and thrown in jail for the rest of your life. No, motherfucker, violence is violence, right? And people who are the aggressors, they're the ones causing violence. You know who those people are? The people in Kenosha who were throwing Molotov cocktails and burning buildings down. That is violence. Violence is not Kyle Rittenhouse standing around with an AR-15, because that's what the left has now been. That's the new talking point as well. Oh, well, this is going to embolden the right to walk around everywhere with AR-15s, and that's intimidating in its own. No, it's not. I mean, yes, right. You know what? Yeah, you are right. It is intimidating, right? But that person is not the one initiating the violence. Self-defense is self-defense. Aggression is aggression. Me and you are not aggressive people whatsoever. We would never go anywhere and just burn someone's building down or whatever like that. But we would walk around and carry an AR-15 if people were doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If my neighbor's house got burned last night and they turned to me and said, "You're next," I know what I'd be sitting on my roof with.
Right, exactly. So I think it was from the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur. He was the one, he was one of these people on Twitter saying, well, the right's going to feel emboldened now to walk around with rifles and whatnot. I'm not on the right, but yeah, motherfucker, people are going to be fucking emboldened now. You're damn fucking right to defend yourself against aggression, right? Yeah. Because every single person, like I said at the beginning of this thing, within the fucking physical confines of the United States of America has fuck the social contract, because it ain't upheld by the state. The state's the one perpetrating the fucking violence. You as an individual have every single right to defend yourself. You have no right to aggress and attack and burn someone else's property down or shoot somebody or whatever. You have no right to do that, but you have every right to defend yourself with whatever means fucking necessary. I'm sorry.
And if you choose to lay down and die, you're a coward. If you choose to, I'm such a peaceful, virtuous person that I will not defend myself. Well, while they're dancing on your head, tell me how it's working out for you. Yep. And on top of it, I saw a tweet today too that said, remind me again the right and conservatives are the violent domestic terrorists that are now emboldened to carry AR-15s. Remind me again how many conservatives went out there and said, if he's found guilty, we're going to burn Kenosha to the ground. How many?
I didn't see it.
How many?
I looked for it too. I looked for it through the Twitter sphere. I didn't really see it. And that doesn't, I don't want to play right is better than left or any game like that. But, the truth is the fucking truth.
Well, we don't want to play the right versus the left, because this show, as we as biased as we can be, and as we fall into our own hypocrisy from time to time. The media has made it right versus left. We're only reporting on what's going on out there to wake people up. We didn't make this the right versus the left. Social big tech and the media is what made this right versus left. And let's get into the media a little bit. Someone I think asked you once, they were like, it's great that we point out like hypocrisy and stuff like that, but we don't provide any solutions. And like, how does something like this get fixed? First and foremost, big tech needs to be like this, like JFK said about the CIA, shattered into 1,000 pieces and blown away into the wind. Big tech needs to be restructured from the ground up. And media, I don't know how we could do it. I don't have a solution. But this is all.
Yeah, sorry.
This is all. Yeah, let me finish this. This is all brought to us. This division is brought to us by the media. Let's remember. Let's go back in time a little bit. Okay, Kyle Rittenhouse was just found not guilty, but 2 summers ago, if you supported Kyle Rittenhouse on Facebook, you were censored.
You were banned.
GoFundMe would not let you fund Kyle Rittenhouse. He was guilty before there was even a trial.
Right.
And isn't it so weird and funny that every time the left brands you a certain way, or the left chooses your fate ahead of time, they're always wrong. And when they're wrong, surprise, surprise, they're wrong because of racism.
Right? They have the ultimate cop out that's bulletproof and can never be questioned, right? Because of morality. Everything's racist. Everything's racist.
It's tiring. I know there is a percent, but
yes,
I can't.
Of course.
I can't. No. I'm not even saying. Yes, I know there's a percentage of racism. We've said this before. Even if we built this utopia and racism was ended, there would still be the class clown that chooses to be racist just because no one else is being racist. There's always going to be the one idiot,
troll,
right?
Yeah.
But I know there's a percentage out there that believes that racism fueled this. I can't imagine the percentage of people out there are still buying the racist song and dance from the media and from the left. I mean,
I think it's shrinking.
Yeah.
But it's still there.
If this country was so racist and the judicial system, what's the court system?
Yeah.
The judicial system, right?
Sure.
If it is so embedded with racism, why are, Tom McDonald, why are we telling immigrants to come here? If this is the most racist country in the world, why are we trying to get more immigrants here? Are we so okay, the left's the problem, right? The left wants immigrants to flood the nation. So what, we can be racist towards them? So you can continue saying we're being racist? Yeah.
Look, let's talk about the court system here, right? I'm hoping that this is a red pill for conservatives and to show them, including you, right, that the court system is broken and it is fucked up, and it has been for a very long time. You know that meme? I think it's the Interstellar meme where he's like, I thought this was, you could use it for here, right? It's like, man, it's like the court system's fucked up, and then it's the guy behind him in space with the gun. It's like, always was. It always was. Yeah. It's always been in favor of the state and whatever the state's agenda has been. Criminal prosecution is a disgusting, dirty fucking business where they're not interested in finding the truth and, getting the correct outcome. They're interested in wins only. And the government will use that to their fucking advantage to spin their agenda. They know prosecutors are out there just to get wins because they want to bolster their, like their profile, their brand. If you're a criminal prosecutor, you want to be the best. You want to have the most victories on your thing. And it's based on wins and losses, not the truth, right? And it has affected poor people, black people forever, right? Poor white people, everybody, right? So it's shocking to me, fucking shocking, for me to see someone like Ayanna Pressley, who is a social justice warrior congresswoman, say, oh, well, if he was a black person, or if he had, Kyle Rittenhouse, if he was a black person, he would be basically convicted and whatnot. So we need to convict him. So the people arguing for criminal justice reform, for court reform, are arguing in favor of biased outcomes of court proceedings, right? Off of imaginary scenarios that didn't happen. I think I replied to this. She literally said if it was a black person, he would be found guilty, or he would maybe been shot or something like that. Let's see. Maybe, right? I don't know. That's not what actually happened.
Yeah, that's not the real scenario.
Fake. That's an imagined in your head scenario. So you, as the social justice warrior on the left, congresswoman, are advocating for the courts to do the wrong thing. No, I'm advocating, and so are you, I know you are, for the courts to do the right thing, regardless of what the case is, what the situation was. If this was some leftist who was attacked by 3 KKK members, and the guy defended himself, I would have been on his fucking side, because you know what? The aggressors never have the right to aggress. You always have this, regardless of whatever you are, you look like, what your political leanings are, or whatever. The truth is the truth, and what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. But these people don't believe, remember, in any truth. No, they're just fucking statists that are only interested in power, and they're willing to use the court system to get that power. That's all this was a way to set a precedent so that people can't defend themselves and the state can continue to grow and have no pushback. Good. I know you're trying to a bit.
If you really look at what happened, Kyle Rittenhouse was put on trial because of a law the media made up.
Yes. Everything he did was within the law. Yeah. Even they were saying he had a gun charge and it was dismissed because he had a legal right to carry a rifle at 17 in Wisconsin. Why did they even bring that fucking charge upon him?
Because
Does the law not know the law? Like, you know what I mean? The fucking system is corrupt. It's broken. How many like people? It's not just Kyle. It's not just this one trial. How many times has this happened? How many innocent young black kids are in jail because of fucking drug possession for marijuana and shit like that? And the prosecutor's like, fuck, this is a great way for me to score a lot of easy victories and put a lot of people away for a long period of time over something that's meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. So yes, that shit does happen. It does disproportionately affect poor people and black people. That's the whole fucking purpose of this trial is you have to stand for the fucking truth, not some fake shit.
It's funny too, because man, the American sheep are just some of the stupidest creatures out there. Because when Derek Chauvin, the cop in George Floyd, Derek Chauvin, right?
Chauvin, yeah.
When he was found guilty, oh boy, the justice system worked that day.
And I agreed.
Nobody. Yeah, and
I think we both agreed. I
agreed too.
You know what? I felt like the fucking the punishment fit the crime.
Yeah. But boy, nobody had a problem that day with the justice system. Isn't it funny that just when
they were left... and dude, I'm sorry to cut you off, but go back to that case. When that case was going on, they were doing the same shit. They were trying to influence the case, the media, the threats of violence,
intimidating the jury,
etc., whatnot. But even then, I felt like it still came out to the correct, whatever. Just because another point I wanted to make coming into this is just because like the court system, the criminal justice system is broken, doesn't mean sometimes it can't get things right. It can, right? Because ultimately things come down to human beings, the jury, and they could look above the noise and really make the right decision. So that happened here. I felt like that happened with Chauvin, regardless of all the external forces trying to influence the outcome.
Well, it just the real external force here, which is the core problem of all of this, is the woke mob. The woke mob is what is influencing. It's influenced by the media, but it's influencing this new form of justice where, if there's 100 trials and the woke mob scream, you really believe that like people are just going to be found guilty because you want them to be guilty?
Yes, that's what they believe. Yes.
It's never worked like that. You know what I'm saying? Like the woke mob is this problem. And I was thinking of this before we got on here, like that joke. What's the difference? How like a relationship is good or not? Like it's like relationships are like farts. If you have to force it, it's probably shit. We're in this cultural war because the woke mob and the progressives and parts of the left,
the government,
believe what happened?
The government.
Yeah. Believe that this is the correct culture for America. If it was the correct culture for America, it would have been accepted, smooth as can be, open arms, no resistance. But now we have been fighting this cultural shift for years now. It isn't, not that what I want is the correct form of culture and not what conservatism wants is the correct form of culture, but this woke bullshit, it's been met with enough resistance. This is not the right form of culture for this country. We both know that. We understand that. But like I said, if it was the right thing, if it was the right move, it wouldn't be this difficult.
Yeah. So I agree. Obviously the woke shit is not good. It's fucking hateful. It's disgusting. It is antithetical to like human beings getting along and loving
extremism.
Each other. Right,
they're the extremists.
But I'm going to push back on what you said. The right culture will never just be accepted because it's the right culture. You have to win hearts and minds. You have to like make an effort and try and talk to people. It's never right. You have to win, even if you have the perfect ideology, which I feel like libertarianism is pretty much the perfect ideology. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but it ain't widely accepted across the country for the most part. It's making strides. It's doing well, but it ain't widely accepted because even if you do have the perfect ideology, it's not magic. You have to like talk to people and sell them. You know how you're not going to win any win over any people, however, with violence.
Yeah.
You're not going to win anybody over by burning down their stores and calling them racist and whatever. Everything the left does is antithetical to winning people over. It's just
everything the left
right,
does.
You're wrong. You'll die. That's it.
Everything the left wants out of people is to lay down and die. You said it. You have to win hearts and minds over. The woke mob isn't winning any new hearts and minds over. It's not the right course of action.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
It's not. I don't know what is. I don't have a solution here. Trust, like I said, if I had the solution, I'd be running for office,
you'd be a
but this
to do so,
but yeah, this isn't the right way, and it's just ludicrous.
I feel like also we're going to talk about who's guilty here. It's the media, it's the government, and they're fascists. They're
and big tech.
working, and yeah, they're part of it. They're working in tandem, as I've said. The president is a fascist. The entire fucking federal government is, the government in general is to some degree or another fascist. State governments are better. Federal government's the absolute worst. And the fact that you have, which we were sent before in a text with a buddy of ours who's a police officer, we were sent today a protest, gather at 7 p.m. in Washington Square Park in New York City. Not guilty equals a further green light for white supremacist terror and the fascist mob rule. We can't let these fascists have the future. Get organized now for revolution, nothing less. At the RevComs. I don't know what the RevComs is. It sounds like some sort of Antifa-like group because they're talking about fascism. The funniest things about groups like this,
they're fascists.
Their actions are in direct support of government intervention, government decree, government involvement, government prosecution of innocent people. That is fascism. I don't know if these groups, it can't be every single person in the group is in on the big conspiracy of it being, because it definitely has something to do with the government, right? Like I feel like the government definitely benefits from these groups like Antifa and whatever that are out there.
Or, maybe probably just funds them somehow.
Right. Or funds them, or, yes, you're right. Like maybe funds them, maybe supports them in some way, because these groups are basically going out there and carrying out the government's will while at the same time saying they oppose fascism. So I don't think every single person in these groups knows that. Right, because it's just too many people.
No, well, because then it's a cult, just who's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Well, that's the problem. It is a cult, and you have like your leadership who knows the truth and is obviously in bed with the government, but you have just the soldiers who are cult members and they just blindly follow. But that's fucking hysterical. Again, that a group is saying we have to oppose white nationalist fascism. This was a trial that exonerated an innocent person that the government was persecuting. That is fascism. Yeah. They are carrying out fascism in the name of anti-fascism. If we said a fucking million times, Antifa and these groups are the brown shirts from Nazi Germany. The brown shirts were Hitler's fucking group of people that walk around and beat the fuck out of people who disagreed before he really came up to power. And, I get my way through violence. That's what these people are. They've just branded it with great marketing now by calling themselves anti-fascists.
That's how simple-minded the sheep are. That, oh, no, the name says anti-fascism.
Right. Right.
Okay. So what was the green light for? White supremacy fascists or whatever?
It says a not guilty verdict is a further green light for white supremacist terror and fascist mob rule.
Okay, so we need to put together this group to start a revolution against the white nationalist terror organization. Okay, so let's play with them. Let's play with what they want. I'm going to give them what they want. Okay, so Kyle Rittenhouse is part of a white nationalist terrorist organization. What is this white terrorist organization? What is its goal? So we're heavily involved in politics and the media. I haven't heard any demands from this white nationalist terror organization. I haven't seen any actions. I guess Kyle Rittenhouse shooting these Black people who were white people is this, action for white nationalism. What's this mob trying to impose on our society that is turning it fascist and we need to revolutionize. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what
like,
you're saying.
Let's play into what they're saying. Like, okay, you want to form a mob so we can start a revolution. What are we fighting against? Where's
nothing.
the white nationalist demand? Thank you.
This one thing that we're talking about, a further green light for white supremacist terror and fascist mob rule. We need to put together a fascist mob in order to make sure that the imaginary fascist mob that doesn't exist does not gain power. That's what they're saying here.
And isn't it funny that this mob that they're putting together to fight fascism and white nationalists is going to be the same mob that burns down your bodega. It's going to be the same mob that smashes the windows in your truck. It's going to be the same mob that loots the Target.
Yeah. I mean, is that going to happen in New York City? I don't know. We'll keep an eye on it tonight.
Yeah.
But, in New York City, you're fucked. Why? Because Democrats took away all your rights to defend yourself. You can't own guns. If you're a business owner, I think you can own a gun. But then again, you're just one guy in a business. I mean, maybe you could put up a fight, but if a fucking angry mob of 1 million people come by, you're kind of fucked. If you have a bunch of people like they were doing in Kenosha working together to defend themselves, you have a better chance against an angry mob.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's funny that this trial was about how the riots that summer got so bad that business owners felt the need to hire armed security. Now, armed security isn't anything strange. The White House has armed security. Every single one of these politicians have armed security. You go to a bank, you go to a big building, there is security. So a trial was just won because a person defended themselves with a rifle during a riot. And now they want to riot, and it's just been proven, quote unquote, if you believe the media, for people to shoot rioters. You'll get off scot-free. That's what the media want. That's what the fear the media injects into everybody, that now if you're at a protest and people shoot you, they're going to be innocent. They're not going to be held accountable, which I can promise you is the exact opposite. Have we not learned anything then? Why would you go back out to riot if you're now allowed to be shot?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how simple-minded these sheep are.
Yeah.
And they're controlled by the state, because now basically the state just gave itself a second chance.
Yes.
Joe Biden said, go out there and peacefully protest. It ain't going to be that peaceful.
Nod, wink, wink.
Yeah. And
the same thing they accused Trump of doing. That's a dog whistle.
Yeah. Now what happens when somebody gets shot tonight? In another year, we have another trial. So when that person's found guilty because 6 people were stomping his head and stabbing him, and he finally got his pistol out and he shot and killed 3 people. So now we got to go through another murder, and this guy's blind in one eye and has 4 stab wounds in him, stuff. Oh, and he's innocent. We got to riot and do it all over again. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the state is leading its sheep to slaughter. We're the real people that are woke. All the woke people are asleep. Because if you have
I hate the term. Every term is distorted, it's perverted.
Yeah. If you really wake up and have a fucking brain in your head, and you really believe that, like, it's okay for white supremacists to shoot protesters, why would you go out and protest?
Right. It's not. Yeah. No logical thinking person would think so. Dude, I said at the beginning of this is state sanctioned violence.
Yeah.
Our buddy who was a cop in the NYPD said he's been held back because of, possible riots and protests and whatnot. And I was like, well, don't worry, because, the worst fucking mayor in the history of the world is probably going to tell everybody to stand down and, let them burn out, as I believe he said last time. And let's get on Mr. fucking Mayor de Blasio here.
This took some.
I know.
I'd like to see his balls, because they must be big and shiny, man.
Let's see if I saved it here. I did send it to you guys.
It's in the. If you can't find it there, I got.
So Mayor Bill de Blasio of New York City said Anthony Huber and Joseph Rosenbaum are victims. They should be alive today. The only reason they're not is because a violent, dangerous man chose to take a gun across state lines and start shooting people. To call this a miscarriage of justice is an understatement. Everything. Remember in fucking what was that movie with Joe Pesci my cousin Vinny. Everything
Yeah.
that guy just said is bullshit. Everything Mayor de
That guy.
Blasio tweeted today after the verdict was read for Kyle Rittenhouse was a completely fabricated lie that was proven to be a lie by the case itself. But the mayor of New York City is repeating the lies. And don't you have another New York former politician who also tweeted some lies? If you want to read that one too, if you have it.
Yeah,
handy.
this one, De
Just to set the
Blasio.
stage here.
The De Blasio, I expect it from him. He's a piece of shit, but he's still the mayor. So the mayor is going to say something, and he's a corrupt individual. So we know where we could have almost wrote it in that what he was going to say. But Andrew Cuomo, who's his own ex-mayor, ex-governor Andrew Cuomo, whose case has been getting worse and worse for him by the day. Okay. Even like left-wing media outlets are starting to be like, he's a serial sexual harasser. He's a sexual predator. Things are not looking good for this sexual assault case for Andrew Cuomo. And he had the balls today to say, today's verdict is a stain on the soul of America and sends a dangerous message about who and what values our justice system was designated to protect. We must stand unified in rejecting supremacist vigilantism and with one voice say, this is not who we are.
You know what's
You're
stain? You know
a rapist.
Yeah.
You're the stain on this country.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
You murdered 13,000 senior citizens, raped dozens of women, and you got a problem with vigilantism?
Yeah.
You shouldn't be opening your mouth at all.
Well, you know why he's opening his mouth is because he's in a very bad position right now, and he's fallen out of favor. So, I take a shot in the dark. I can win some favor back if I get the violent mob on my side. By throwing them some support. These two guys are the worst motherfucking politicians that have probably ever existed. And it just so happens they're from our fucking home state.
Well, no, you got to, you have to understand some states are bigger and more important than others, right? Flat out. And a state like New York and a state like California, I'll say it every episode, you don't get to run the state of New York without having blood on your hands. Yeah. You don't get any big time position of power in a state like
closet.
Yeah. Unless, closets, plural, bro. You have so many skeletons. You need a house full of closets, and it's the only way. Politics are dirty. It's always been dirty. Even if you look at comic books and cartoons and the heroes like Jim Gordon from Batman or something, even they have to be dirty and get blood on their hands to get, the justice that they need sometimes. That's the role of Batman, to shed the blood to get the justice so somebody like Commissioner Gordon doesn't have to. You don't get to run New York without, fucking shit up beforehand. Right. The best lieutenants, the best soldiers are only going to get those positions.
It's funny you mentioned Batman, and people always will be like, well, where is our billionaire vigilante that's out there trying to fight the good fight?
They'd hate him.
They would fucking hate him, right? He'd be eviscerated by the public. It's not realistic. That's why it's a comic book. If Batman was real and he went out there and tried to do the right thing and stop one person against another person, he'd be eviscerated by whatever agenda the government and the fucking media had at the time. He'd be painted as a racist, as a this, as a that, whatever way the wind was blowing, Batman would take the fall. As dumb as that might fucking sound. That's why there are no vigilantes. No one's going to take the chance, But
I've been saying for a while though, like things keep going the way they're going, when the riots were going on, it was only a matter, you can only burn down a city for so long until someone resists you.
Right. What here's the difference, right? Yeah, like you're saying, when someone resists you, but what Kyle did was not vigilantism. It was self-defense. It was trying to help people. But Batman goes out hunting for criminals. Yeah. Kyle Rittenhouse didn't go out hunting for criminals. He went there to go put out fire and defend businesses from being burnt down. It's been fucking proven by the trial. I'm not going to rehash every detail of the trial. If you didn't fucking read it, if you didn't watch it by now, you ain't listening to the show.
So-
and you ain't going to watch it now anyway.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the trial, because this is about Rittenhouse.
Yeah. I have
So-
a couple of things that are really interesting, definitely, that I want to
Yeah.
get
So
to.
let's talk about the
Most of the-
aggressors, the
yeah.
prosecutor, all the nonsense that this prosecutor pulled. Go wild.
Yeah, I mean, most of the episode so far has been me just angrily screaming,
This hasn't been an episode, it's been a therapy session.
Yeah, and you know, because I'm yelling, I'm one of the most peaceful people you ever find. Just because she gets me mad, you know, doesn't mean I'm an aggressor, like Gage Grosskreutz, whatever the fuck his name was. But one part of the trial, which was towards the end here, which I thought was fucking fascinating, this trial should have just been dismissed because of some of these things, right? But the
5-6 different times.
The prosecutor was so egregiously biased and trying to basically fuck the whole trial. Like, he was trying to admit false evidence, messing with the documents. He was going above. You're just supposed to, if you think the guy is guilty, you're supposed to, like, here's the evidence, here's my case, and this is why I think he's guilty. You don't, like, fabricate evidence. You don't go above and
Tampering
beyond.
evidence.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, that's not part of your fucking job. But that's what the court system has been doing. And now I hope, again, that conservatives wake up to this is the reality of the courtroom. So there was a video towards the end here, and it was of drone footage of Kyle Rittenhouse. And the prosecution said it was the drone footage is of him pointing a weapon at people, right? And they're saying, look, this proves that Kyle was an aggressor. He was pointing his gun at people, you know, unprovoked, you know, throughout the night. You go and look at the video in the court, and it's a fucking grainy video from a drone. You can't see anything at all. And the defense's argument is, we can't see anything in this video. There's nothing, you know, they had no argument. They had no counter argument, because their counter argument was, we can't see anything. We can't even counter argue this, because there's nothing visible in this film. But the prosecution is telling the jury, this video shows that he was pointing his gun at people, and that's what we're putting on the record, right? That the case ends, both sides make their closing arguments, and the jury goes into deliberation at the last weekend. I think it was Friday was when closing arguments happened. On, I believe it was Saturday, the prosecution admitted that they had a better quality video of the same exact video. And sorry here, right?
So
right,
long story short, the prosecution had one video doctored up.
Well, hey, let me get into it. I have the details. So sorry. Over the weekend, we learned that there was an HD version of the footage that was not given or disclosed to the defense. The prosecution there, it's funny because their original excuse was, well, we sent it to you via text and it got compressed because you guys have an Android and we have an iPhone, and the videos gets compressed or whatever. So, which is just ridiculous. Later on, they admitted that they just had a better version. So later on in the week, this is the video I sent you, Cap. The prosecutor plugs his laptop into the TV monitor in the courtroom, and I forget what he's showing. He's trying to show something to everybody. He's going through the files, and you see in the files where he keeps the videos and the documents is a video editing software called Handbrake. And a lot of people are familiar with Handbrake. Handbrake is used to compress videos to different compression rates. You compress a video, it gets smaller, it gets grainier, it makes the file size less so that you could transfer it to somebody. It affects the quality of the video, but you're actually able to maybe make like a 30 gig video into a 15 gig video, and you could actually send something to somebody. That program is in the file in the same like area in this guy's computer as the videos of the drone footage. And you also see that the drone footage there's two copies. There's the HD copy, and then there's the lower quality copy, and the file names are different on both of them, which leads you to believe that a different file was created, hence a different file name. It's not like one file was just straight copied. It's an exact copy of the other. It's a new file was created. And this was just on the guy's fucking laptop that he plugged into the courtroom television. I don't know why the court everything should have been thrown out right there. It's obvious.
I think it should have been thrown out before that.
You should have been thrown out before that, but right there and then they were tampering with evidence. They were giving the defense and presenting in court lower quality video that they obviously manipulated so that they could make the argument, look, he's pointing a gun at people. And the defense could make the argument, we can't see anything. So we don't really have an argument. I mean, at this point, for you to do that as a prosecutor, you should be disbarred and
tried.
Right. You should now be tried, for false fucking prosecution. I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. I don't know what it's called.
Tampering evidence and withholding.
I don't know. I don't even
evidence.
know, what the statutes or whatever, like the legal jargon would be for charging somebody like that. But it can't be right. You can't just make shit up and edit stuff, and then present it as if that's the true verified copy. You can't just do that.
No. You as the prosecutor, so in a court of law, the little bit that I know, if you, the prosecution, have evidence against the person you're defending, so you have 3 files, file A, B, and C, the prosecution has to, cousin Vinny, there you go.
Right.
Excuse me.
That's the extent of our law knowledge.
Well, I mean, I have
at least mine for the most part.
She's a partner at a law firm, so she's pretty intelligent.
All right.
I'd say.
I believe.
But and I go to her about a lot of law stuff. But if you the prosecutor, you have files A, B, and C of evidence. The defense has to get A, B, and C. You can't withhold C. And if you wanted to add file D, okay, we have to put the court in recess. You have to give the defense file D. They have to, look into what file D is and see it. And you can't just spring this on them. That's how the court system might be broken, but that system is not. That's how it goes. This is how it goes.
That makes sense, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is how it goes for every trial. You could be black, white, Asian, blue, green, straight, gay, man, woman, alien. This is how the court says. This is
the honor
how
amongst
it's going to go.
The honor amongst like lawyers.
Oh no, you just froze.
Oh, did I? You hear me? I think it's you.
Yeah, we're good. I'm back. Can you see me?
I see you. You hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I'll cut that little piece out. So what's the honor like amongst lawyers is like a good thing, yeah, I'm trying to prosecute your client, I'm trying to defend your client, and everything's out in the open for the most part. And may the best man win, I guess you could.
And that's how, listen, mob trials have been thrown off, and convicted murderous mob members of the mob have gotten out scot-free because somebody tampered with the evidence, because somebody withheld evidence. It's all it takes to put a murderer or a rapist back on the street. It's such a razor thin margin of error that could get the whole case thrown away. Let's not forget, at the beginning of the case, the prosecutor tried to convince the jury that Kyle Rittenhouse, you have the right to remain silent. When you get arrested, the first thing they say is you have the right to remain silent. You can choose to remain silent. Therefore, you cannot incriminate yourself. That's why when you get arrested and you get interrogated, before you say anything, you get a lawyer.
Right.
Right.
Because on top of that, it might not be that you're even incriminating yourself. You don't know what you're like. You're in a physically, you're in an emotionally distressed time. You're not a law professor, and the police will use every little tiny thing you say, whether you meant it or not, or whatever you said against you.
Because like you said earlier, it's only about the W's. There's no justice. So if you're shocked and you're crying and you're covered in blood and you're distraught, and the cops could get you to say something that will fuck you,
they will.
We got the W, pal.
Right.
See you later. So Kyle, for whatever reason, as a 17-year-old boy, was smart enough to, you have the right to remain silent. He was silent. And the prosecutor tried to convince the jury that by being silent, you are admitting to your guilt. And the judge this is when the judge became a hero. But also, this judge
wasn't a hero. He did what's right.
Yeah, but honestly, to be honest with you, this judge should have thrown the case out several times.
I agree.
So But I'm also glad he didn't, because if he did throw the case out, oh, the judge is racist. Oh, the judge is a white supremacist. Oh, the judge is biased. So this whole argument that the judge is biased, we are debunking that right now, because he could have thrown this case out.
He allowed this prosecution a lot more like
he allowed the
slack than should have been allowed. He was playing probably 4D chess though, and he knew if he did throw the case right off the bat, that would be the narrative. So he wanted it to go to the jury thing. But for the left who's saying, you know, the whole case was rigged against the prosecution, you know, because the left is arguing in favor of state prosecution of people. No, actually, the judge, he gave a lot of leeway to a lot of fucking funny business coming from the prosecution.
Murderers have gotten off because of smaller infractions in the courts. And so the judge said, this is a constitutional infringement. He has the right to remain silent. And if you are going to try and convince the jury that by using his constitutional rights, you know, to protect himself makes him guilty, then this is now becomes a constitutional issue. Should have been thrown out there. The tampering. What else did this guy do that? I
mean, he pointed a rifle at the jury with his finger on the trigger. Gun fucking etiquette, safety etiquette, and 101. Never put your finger on the trigger unless you're ready to fire or kill something. And this dumb fuck, Binger, or whatever the fuck his name is, Binger, literally pointed the gun at the jury. I mean, dude, obviously he's trying to like use that as an intimidate, and I don't think he didn't mean to obviously like shoot the jury or anything like that, but it's like a visceral thing to have a gun pointed at you. So he's pointing that gun at the jury to try and like reenact imaginarily reenact Kyle Rittenhouse pointing the gun at people to scare the jury. This way, me, oh my God, what a terrible thing. And 15, oh my God, I better convince this guy. You know what I mean? I'm dead serious. This is the guy's fucking motive.
And on top of it, though, we now have a prosecutor who doesn't understand gun etiquette, doesn't understand how to handle a gun, but he wants to put an 18-year-old man away for using a gun. That's the amazing. He was, now he's 18, but whatever. That's the amazing thing about the left and the attack on the Second Amendment and guns. I correlate the gun community with the LGBT community. Okay. You hate something that you don't understand. Master Yoda. Hate leads to anger. No, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Everybody on the left just is suffering now because you hated, you feared something, so you got angry at it. And when you were angry and it didn't change, you hated it. And now he's innocent and you're suffering. You know, because human nature, when you see something you don't understand, there's two paths. You could be open-minded and you could learn about it, or you could be closed-minded and it'll scare you and you'll hate it. Right. So the left isn't big on guns. They don't understand the gun community. Everybody who wants to lay down and die and not defend themselves doesn't understand the gun community. They're afraid of it. So they hate it and they want to get rid of it. Take homophobic people. They don't understand the LGBT community. They are afraid of it. So therefore they hate it. The gun community and the gay community have way more in common than you fucking think. And it's an irrational, non-existing fear, because there's dozens of states that have constitutional carry. There's dozens of states that issue carry permits. You've probably, as somebody who's so scared and anti-gun, you've probably been in a bank or a restaurant or a mall and walked past somebody who, whether they're legally or illegally carrying a gun, but you weren't scared. And the same goes for all the homophobes. You were probably in a bar or a restaurant or a mall, and you were at Foot Locker sitting down trying on sneakers next to a gay woman or a gay man, and you didn't know because they weren't running around in a rainbow leotard or whatever. They were just dressed like a normal human being, and they just have a different sexual preference than you. It's not a real fear. But here we are, somebody who doesn't understand how to operate guns, who isn't part of the gun community, trying to convince and scare people who are not part of the gun community on that this was a bad action. You're unqualified to actually, if you think about it, this was a shooting. You're unqualified to prosecute this
Well,
this person,
you as a
yeah,
person are unqualified to
yeah,
comment
you're
on it.
unqualified.
Yeah.
I couldn't, what's something I'm not interested in, or that I don't follow soccer. I can't teach. I played soccer, but I can't teach you the stats and how FIFA and the organization works. I'm unqualified to do that.
Mhm.
I'm not a physicist. I'm unqualified to go into a university and teach a physics class. You are unqualified to prosecute this person for shooting someone.
Yeah, Binger, right? And every
Yeah.
other, left wing,
Gun grabber.
prosecutor on the internet.
Yeah.
I have to hand you, that was pretty fucking deep and wise. Your comparison there. I give you credit.
The two communities have a
Yeah.
lot more in common, man.
Yeah, man. And I'm gonna make my regular point here. You know what the common denominator of all that fear on both sides is? The state. The state. It's the state that's always driving the wedge between people.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, if you're in a fucking store or a bank, right, and someone's concealed carrying, and you were standing next to them, and you're getting your deposit or whatever, and you walk on, you had no idea. You had no big deal. Or if you were gay and you was hanging out with someone or walking by someone, and that person's in the same store as you, no problem. You're all just living along peacefully, no problem, etc. When does shit pop off? When politics gets involved, when the state gets involved, when the state, allows political activist groups to perpetrate violence on people, then you know what I mean? Then you're scared of guns and of gay people and whatnot. Like back in the day, man, the Republicans were the fear mongers over gay people. You know what I mean? Did you really? Yes, maybe. Yes, of course. Like, right. There was, like, let's say down south Bubbas. They were probably, I'm sorry to just generalize anybody, but down south Bubbas were probably fucking prejudiced against gay people. But when you walked into a random store, most of the time you had no idea. It was only when you saw, like, your congressman or whatever say something about it that you're like, yeah, fuck these fags. You know what I mean? Something like, I'm serious. That's probably what they said. It was because the government got involved in your fucking personal life and your personal discourse. The government is the root of every fucking problem that we have in society. And they're always trying to divide people. And the fact that the left, who are supposed to be the compassionate ones, the ones that are all for peace and love, man, where are those people now? Like, where are the hippies? As weird as it fucking sounds. The left is not the left anymore. They're the dictators, the authoritarians, the statists. They want to rule by power and gunpoint. The people who are terrified of guns, they want you fucking ruled by gunpoint. How illogical is that? Think of it this way. For everyone who supports, let's say, mandate of vaccination of everybody by state decree, forget about your job, forget about whatever, right? There are people on the left who support state decree of everyone being vaccinated by law. And they would support you being forced to be vaccinated at gunpoint. It ain't them who's going to do the fucking forcing of vaccination. They need a goon with a gun to do it. And that goon will be a random rioter on the street, the police, anybody who will support.
Whoever wants to be a stormtrooper.
Anybody. Exactly. Thank you. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you think of it. It's Star Wars reference. Once the Empire took over and Darth Vader came into power, they got rid of the clones because the clones, I forget the name of the planet and the species that were creating the clones, but now they took everyone from the galaxy. You want to be a stormtrooper? We take one, we take all. And now you have everyone from different galaxies willing to be stormtroopers to enforce what the Empire wants.
You have some skin in the game, right? Some ideology in the game. It's funny because I was thinking about. It's funny you bring up stormtroopers, because I was thinking about stormtroopers today, because I was thinking about just in general, like the way the police are used as like the enforcement. They're stormtroopers. They're stormtroopers in the enforcement arm of the state. And somebody who I follow, like Michael Malice, will say all the time, like there's no like law the police won't enforce, down to like the most terrible thing ever. And like, I kind of agree. I agree, right? Like, the police are going to eventually enforce the law. But I don't agree with like all cops are bastards.
No.
Because, and I thought, and let me finish my point here. I was thinking of the opening scene, as stupid as this fucking sounds. I was thinking of the opening scene of The Force Awakens when Kylo Ren and everybody land and the stormtroopers come out and they round up all those people and the stormtroopers are given the order to massacre everybody. It's Finn who just lays down his like plasma rifle or whatever and walks away. And that's because no, all cops are not bastards. All stormtroopers are not bastards. Yes, police will enforce any law they're told to enforce, but the individual can always make the decision to lay down his arm and walk away. So ACAB is bullshit, but the police will enforce any law they are decreed to do.
I think I've gotten to the bottom of it. Not to badmouth the NYPD. And the way things are going with the mandates and the way the states want to run things, I will support the blue until they're on the other side of that door with a vaccine telling me it's either or. You know what I mean? That's where the blue line doesn't matter to me anymore. The reason why I think it's so easy for police in general to fold and become stormtroopers, because they are the only other asset of society that holds power. It's a pecking order.
Yeah.
Regular people, no matter whether you're a millionaire, billionaire, dead broke, living in the gutter, you're at the bottom of the pyramid. Then there's the police, then there's local government, state, blah, 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 to the very tippy top of the establishment. Police might conform and they'll enforce any law, no matter how crazy it is, because at the end of the day, power corrupts. And they are the last line of power to have over the common folk. And some of them just aren't going to give it up. Oh, I got to get vaccinated so I could still run around swinging my dick and, enforcing what I need to and getting away with. But it's not all cops. It's not. And there's a lot of cops who have walked off the force or retired or refusing to get the vaccine. And they're the Finns of the group. But a lot of them will fold and become stormtroopers because they have the power over the last bottom section of the pyramid.
Yep. You're starting to sound like an anarchist, brother. Right? No one has power over you besides you yourself.
Yeah.
Be it the police, the government, your neighbor, no one. Anarchism is about you as an individual are free from rule of everybody, free from oppression from everyone. And our entire system is built upon oppression in one way or another. We just don't think of it that way.
Yeah. Well, I saw something. Oppressors powers are as limited to what the oppressors will allow or something like that. You know what I mean? Like
the oppressed.
Yeah. The oppressed will allow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. Right. Like I've said, with all these fucking mandates and restrictions and the COVID regime, that shit ends when everyone decides it ends. Because it's never going to fucking end.
No.
If you just, okay, government, well, is it okay? Can we end now? No. I mean, not to really go into COVID tangent, but man, can you tell me the plan? When have they said, this is what we have to do in order for the pandemic to end? There is no plan. There's nothing.
Even if they told you the plan, something else would happen to change the plan and move the goalpost.
Right. They
doesn't matter. We'll get into this in future episodes, but keep an eye out for the smallpox. Bill Gates said smallpox, and then smallpox was found in a lab in Philadelphia. And boy, what
they just spent a few $1 billion on smallpox medication or something like that.
Yeah. So boy, what's coming down the pipeline next when we stop listening to all the COVID mandates? How do we get people even more scared?
Right. It's always been that way. It's always been that way. There's always been the fear. It was 9/11. It was Muslim terrorists. It was the communists, the Soviet Union, and some are more justifiable than others, right? Obviously, Hitler was a bigger threat. Like a bigger actual threat than coronavirus. Let's say. Yeah. You know what I mean? But there's always a fear. You're always in a perpetual state of fear.
Boogeyman.
And that's how the government keeps you under their thumb, by a perpetual state of fear. Doesn't mean you can't make common cause sometimes with the government against a worse fear. That's what we are trying to do here sometimes, right? Like we've said, sometimes you got to vote for the lesser of two evils just because that's all you got in the chance, right?
It's going to be better for the long run.
But yeah, man. I know we're going to wrap up here in a second. I could feel the vibe.
Well, I was going to say, if you wanted to talk about the people Rittenhouse shot, because a lot of people don't understand. Let me see. I took a few screenshots today. I don't know if yep, here we go. So, first and foremost, the three people who died were white. Okay, so this whole
Straight
racism
out.
thing
Straight out.
really.
And sorry to cut you off, but that has been misconstrued by the mainstream the corporate press over and over again up until yesterday.
Yeah.
NBC News shared an article about how black people are going to be traumatized over a white nationalist murdering people being free if Kyle Rittenhouse is let free, something along those lines. Basically, leaving it very gray that it was not black people that, like they didn't necessarily say it was black people who were shot, but they didn't say it was white people who were shot. They made up some narrative about how black people are going to be terrified because this keeps happening to them or something like that. What keeps happening to them?
Yeah.
They're being purposefully misleading. This was yesterday.
And the sad part of this is there is a lot of people out there that don't know this little tidbit.
Oh,
they
don't. Yeah. I mean,
so, first person to die, Joseph D. Rosenbaum, convicted felon, sex offender, level 3 offender, failure to maintain registration status. Anthony Huber, convicted felon, assault and battery, domestic abuse, false imprisonment, illegal weapon. Wow, this guy's last name is something else.
Yeah, this an asshole. Yeah.
Yeah, Gage
Grosskreutz.
Yeah, Grosskreutz. Convicted felon, felony burglary, probation violation, illegal weapon. These are the heroes. CNN hails these three people heroes.
Bill de Blasio hails them as the victims.
Yeah.
All right, the heroes.
Yep. These are isn't it so funny? No matter who dies, what skin color they are, what race they are, whether a cop did it or a vigilante did it, it's never, Stephen from Sunday school who donated who donated his time on Christmas morning to feed the homeless at the soup kitchen. He was a volunteer all over town, and the cops just dragged him down the street and choked him to death. It's always the crackhead with illegal gun charges, child abuse charges, assault charges, armed robbery. It's always these career criminals that get killed.
Yeah.
It's never little, good boy, volunteer, churchgoer.
And that's the conglomerate of the state and the media spinning that narrative. But let's look at this from the perspective of Black Lives Matter.
And hold on, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the guy who lived, what's the guy?
Gage Grosskreutz.
He was the worst out of all of them.
Yeah,
he raped children. I'm not trying to go.
No, that was Rosenbaum. That was Rosenbaum.
That was?
Yeah, Rosenbaum.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Gage
Grosskreutz was the worst aggressor of the three because he's the one who drew his gun on Kyle while Kyle was on the ground, and was probably going to shoot him.
Yeah.
But let's look at this from the perspective of me. Hypothetically, I'm a Black Lives Matter protester or supporter who participated in good faith in Kenosha that night. And I hear about this. You see, the thing is, I've been lied to, right? And I probably don't realize I haven't done any research. But why, as a Black Lives Matter supporter in good faith who wants to see the Black community, do good and be free of police, brutality and all that stuff, why would you support 3 white convicted criminals, one of which was a pedophile, and are out on the streets making your protests violent, attacking people, and throwing Molotov cocktails at people? Like, how does that further your narrative or goal in any way of justice for Black people?
Yep.
It doesn't make any logical sense. And my only conclusion to that is, which I already kind of said, is they don't know, right? I don't even blame like the people on the left who don't know. I really don't.
The sheep. Yeah. The sheep.
I really don't blame them. I shared a video with you before of that woman who had a complete fucking mental breakdown, right? When the jury,
the verdict came out.
Right? Like, literally, she had a legitimate mental breakdown.
They had to take her away in an ambulance.
She was seizuring, I guess, from like the overwhelming anxiety of this trial didn't go her way. And so I feel bad for someone like that. Maybe some people laughed at her. I know you don't. I know you never feel bad for these people, but I do. I do, because they've been fucking conned. They've been lied to by powerful forces, the government and the media. They have been. Like everybody who's plugged into the Matrix. I feel bad for them, right? In the movie, The Matrix, because they've been forced there by the machines, this powerful entity. It's the same fucking thing for that woman who had like a seizure because her whole like life view got blown up right in front of her face. So I do feel bad for these people because they don't know any better. They're literally just in the Matrix and they don't know. So I don't know.
But
like
at the same time,
I
like,
hope this wakes them up. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why during this case, like I tried to reach out to a few people on like that I know personally that were posting stuff that makes no sense because I can't fix the world. I don't have the fucking magic wand, but I can change maybe 3 or 4 people's minds.
got a microphone.
Yeah, I know, right? But those people ain't going to listen to our podcast because they
no.
think that we're evil demons. But if I approach someone on a 1-to-1 level, it could change their mind because you could just be like, dude, you know me. Look, here's the facts. This is why I think what I think. I'm less emotional, right? When we get on a podcast, you get hyped up
crazy,
and like yelling and shit. It's just a better. I wish some of those people would come and talk to us on the podcast.
I think that might have to be the goal for 2022. To be honest with you, like we really need to get someone with an opposing view on and just be like, why? Like that's the problem with like a lot of like the people who oppose the views we have is because that one question of why really trips them up. Right.
Yeah, when you ask questions, it's a good
like
debate tactic.
I forget when I forget what we were arguing about, and like people were just like, oh, I know what your skin color, and I was like, fine, like yes, I'm white, like, but why do you feel the need to be this angry? But well, you don't tell me, you white nationalist. Okay, but like just to justify what you're saying.
Yeah.
A lot of like what we see, and I keep saying it to you, is like, how can people justify saying this? Like, I think Whoopi Goldberg from The View had some statement of like, what we're learning from this trial is that it's okay for white people to shoot people. You are a full-grown adult. She's a senior citizen. I'm sorry, it's just that's their age bracket. You've been on this earth for a long time, and I am not going to negate and diminish anything that you have personally experienced. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say Whoopi Goldberg has lived a very comfortable life, bare minimum. I'm sure she has dealt with some type of racism, but I know it's just a state-controlled establishment talking mouthpiece now. But as an adult, how is your brain set up as an adult that you see the prosecution tampering evidence and you see the prosecution's witness straight up saying, no, he never pointed a gun at me. No, we chased him. No, he didn't. You witnessed the prosecution, the witness destroy the entire case. And in your head as a logical adult, you're like, it's okay for white people to shoot people. That's what I learned today.
Well, you see, the difference is someone like Whoopi Goldberg is not a dumb person. They're very well off. They're very well educated. They're nefarious. She's a nefarious actor. I don't feel bad for a Whoopi.
No, I don't.
Or
I don't.
Mayor Bill de Blasio, who's purposefully misrepresenting the rules. I feel bad for the woman who had a complete mental fucking breakdown in front of the courthouse there because she's just some random person who probably doesn't look into this shit that often or doesn't have the means to. She maybe got a job, maybe you know what I mean. Like she's just a normal.
It's amazing how much like go ahead.
No, good.
It's just amazing how much that if people just did independent research, like it would save so much effing heartache, bro.
Yeah.
Just look into it past the CNN headline. Even like
that's a main thing I've been trying to like show people with this. It's like I've posted a lot on my own. Let's get back to social media, right? I don't normally post a lot of political. I mean, I do sometimes on my personal thing, but I felt like this was important that I had to post stuff about the Rittenhouse trial on my personal, Instagram or whatever, because like I looked at it this way. This is dangerous, right? This is like the government trying to get people to fight each other. And there are people here I can maybe connect with and show them a different way. Like I can maybe red pill people based off of how obviously bullshit this trial was. So I'm like, I should post some things here. And one of the main things I posted was like the last thing I'm going to post regarding to Rittenhouse. It was like, you're being lied to. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
You're at every fucking facet of everything. You're being lied to. And I forgot what it was. It was some detail about the trial that I was saying you're being lied to. But like, that's what, I don't know. I feel like to go back to real quick, to go back to your point about social media you were talking about earlier. I did also notice it's quiet.
Mhm.
It is quiet.
Yeah.
And that's a bit of a white pill because either it's quiet in my personal space and social
Yeah, that's
media,
what I
right?
started
Like,
the show with.
in my personal
Yeah.
social media things, right? Like my own individual ones, not the
Podcast page.
podcast ones, right? On like where I interact with people I actually know, like Facebook, Instagram is very quiet, aside from like, people on the right, like, yeah, good, this was the right thing to do. I think a lot of people, and from like a 1-to-1, have maybe realized, they're kind of right. They were kind of
The
right. But
narrative
people
fell apart.
they're not going to like come out and be like, I was wrong. They were
Yeah.
right. You know what I mean? People are just going to take the L and be like, you know what? Maybe they're right.
Yeah. You gotta,
But
go ahead.
let me make a larger point here. But that's on my personal 1-to-1.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
Media ecosystem, right? Go to Twitter.
Well, Twitter is just,
I'm trying to make a larger
it's designed
point
for this.
trying to make a larger point here. Twitter is the battlefield of ideology, as I've said a million times to you. That is where the narrative is being forged in fire. That is the battlefield. Twitter is not quiet. Twitter is a fucking war zone right now of people on the left and people on the right going back and forth to each other. And I hate it. I hate it as a thing, right? But it has to be fought because that forging of the fucking ideology that's occurring there is going to trickle down to the other social media platforms that are going to influence people to behave a certain type of way. So if nobody does that, if no one goes there and pushes back against those assholes who are on there right now, like fucking Cenk Uygur and fucking Bill de Blasio and every other random
Sean King,
every other random Aaron Rupar, every random leftist that is just sowing division and hate. And not even like the blue check people, just like random normal people.
Yeah.
So you have to push back against those. If no one does that, those people draw the narrative. And that narrative trickles down to normal people that you might know in your personal life and infect their fucking way of thinking and make them hate you and make them hate everybody. And I don't know what the fucking objective is here, but it ain't for everyone to get along. Right. It ain't for everyone to get along peacefully. It ain't. So
yeah,
that was the larger thing I'm trying to make. Like locally, things seem like people have gotten it. But in the battlefield, the war is still being, and it's always going to be
the battlefield for the reason.
There's always going to be an ideological battlefield. Honestly, it's not like one day we're going to be like, that's it. Everyone lays down their keyboard and we go about our lives. No, there's always going to be an ideological battlefield somewhere. Yeah. Even if libertarianism, in my idea, which is one of the best ideologies could have, and if it becomes the dominant ideology and things are great, everyone's prosperous, right? Like black people have record levels of wealth. And the country is doing great, and it spreads around the globe. All the other countries in the globe. It's a fucking utopia, magically, of everything. There's still gonna be people willing to tear down everything. And there's gonna be a battlefield somewhere of the people who are right and the people who are wrong. And it's gonna, you know what I mean? It's always gonna be there. Yeah. The fight never ends. Just put it that way.
No, it doesn't. I think that's a pretty good spot, huh?
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good spot to wrap it up.
This was a good episode. This was a lot of stress that was building up for this verdict.
Yeah. Well, we waited, bro. We waited.
Yeah.
We didn't cover it much.
We wanted to record Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, when we wanted to record when it was over. One other thing, real quick, I want to point out. This is just a public service announcement. The vaccine mandate that our fascist dictator, President Biden, enacted, which is completely unconstitutional, has been struck down by federal court, and OSHA has issued that they will not be enforcing the vaccine mandate. That vaccine mandate is the one that applies to employers of 100 or more employees. So if your job is trying to coerce you into getting vaccinated because Biden and OSHA made a rule to get vaccinated, they are wrong. There is no rule. It is completely stopped right now. So it's over. Like you have a beef now if your employer is doing it under that pretext.
It's called wrongful termination and medical discrimination.
Right. Again, if you want to go get vaccinated, fine. But if you're being coerced by your employer under pretext of the government mandate, that is false. That doesn't exist. If you're job is 100 or more. If you're a government contractor, that is still in place. That was more direct. Biden has more direct, whatever. It's all bullshit anyway. But just wanted to make that point out. Just to give people a little information if you're still listening.
It's good. People need to know the rules.
Yep.
All right, Doom Nation. It's been another great episode. We are glad you guys could join us. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
What do we got coming up next? What do we got coming up
what's
next?
coming up
Yeah,
next? It's right here. Funko Pop mystery boxes.
Oh, you just gave away where you live, you dummy.
Son of a bitch. That was the wrong side.
That's
We're
right.
gonna have to blur that out.
Might be too blurry. We'll see. Captain just doxed himself.
Yeah, that's terrible. We're gonna have to blur that out. Yes, this Monday, it is Friday right now. On Monday, we are getting together with Big Mikey and Mark, and we are going to do Popcast 3.
Yep. So I'm excited about that. I got a lot of pops
I
sitting
have.
on.
Oh
That'll be
man,
fun, man. Especially
yeah.
after the Rittenhouse drama, it'll be nice to just open some pops and talk about nonsense.
Yeah. Make sure you blur out my address and Doom Nation. Thank you.
Goodbye.